wondering if you got any right reports at 28.
This is Retro from Retro Philosophy TV, requesting permission to take off, please.
0,000, direct Nelson. 3020 on the meter, direct to Cook Canyon Ranch, Gulfstream 0 signal.
Ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, please prepare for takeoff. Flight number F6B has been cleared. We are ready for takeoff.
And we'll let you know when we get to the airport in sight, Gulfstream 0 signal.
Make sure your seats are upright, seat belts are tight, and you're ready for a ride. It's your boy Retro, and we're taking off. The left lane has been cleared. Let's get ready to ride.
Oh, American 2495.
Let's go, let's go. It's the Retro Philosophy Show.
What we say? Stay honest. Can they shake us? Never. How we vibe, promise. We ride. Stay bold. We vibe. Stay cold. Faith ain't fragile. Platinum gold. Drop. My praise go quantum. It falls through time. There's a hallelujah in every word I rhyme. Okay. When I speak his name, dimensions quake. I may go through trials, but my soul never break.
Retro, hashtag press play. It's the Retro Philosophy Show. Let's go!
Kingdom alignment on assignment for the king. Hope you're ready for the show.
Oh, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Let's go for a ride.
Let's go for a ride.
Got my specs on my side. She's my forever bride that keeps hope alive.
I'ma rev it up, so hold on tight.
We about to level up, catch us on the turnpike. From city to city, state to state, coast to coast, man, make no mistake.
We are conquerors,
More than conquerors.
collecting miles and smiles.
Been doing this thing for a while, and all the while winning souls to God. We singing praises to our King. On the hog or on the wing, His praise we always sing,
Because this is the day that he has made.
Yo, what's up, everybody, including Lottie Dottie? You already know what it is. It's your boy Retro with you on today. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in. How y'all doing? Where all my folks at? I know my algorithm is so off, but I kind of don't mind it the way that it is. I'll leave that alone. I'll come back to that maybe at a later time. But I want to talk to you for a few minutes, if you will talk to me, from the thought or from the discussion, proving a point or solving a problem. To prove a point or to solve a problem. That is the question for you adults, those of you who are adulting on today. Now check it out now. Sometimes adulting is overrated. Sometimes you want to let a Negro, niglet, wiglet, whatever, you want to let them know how you feel. But the more you mature and grow up, you realize that sometimes that's a waste of time. Sometimes you got a point you feel like you got to prove. But the reality is, not going to doing it wrong. Yeah, let me, if I can say that. One, if I've got to prove a point to you, then I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, because what I have to do is I have to convince you beyond your willingness to believe. And I just don't have time for that. If I'm going to rock with you and you're going to rock with me, I don't have time to get up every single day and prove a point to you, to convince you beyond your willingness to believe. I just don't have that time. You know what I mean? Proving a point, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, and we can pick this conversation up at a later time in the studio, perhaps, with a couple guests. I got a few folks in mind that I would love to join me on this conversation. But here's the point that I want to make. To prove a point or to solve a problem, okay? And again, sometimes we feel as though we've got to prove a point. We got something that we got to prove. But look at, man, proving a point means I've got to convince you beyond your willingness to believe. And I just don't have the energy. I don't have the time to do those kinds of things. I asked this question, and somebody so eloquently said that if you solve the problem, there'll be no point to make. And sometimes we feel as though we've got to prove a point. And when you prove a point, what you're doing is you're You're giving them your point of view, your perspective, your reasoning, this, that, and the other. But just because that's your reality doesn't mean it's their reality. And so you might prove your point, but we didn't gain anything from your point being proven. Um, you don't like me for such and such a reason, and you prove your point, but you didn't give me any understanding. I believe that we are better off giving an explanation, helping someone to gain understanding, than we are to prove a point. Because many a times you can prove a point and still leave the other party confused. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I'm confused as to how you got there, why we are here. And so the Bible says wisdom is the principal thing. With all thine getting, get understanding. And so often, ladies and gentlemen, we want to appear to be so wise and so deep and so, this, that, and the other. But there was a movie that I watched many years ago. You might have watched it as well. Gentleman by the name of Prince, Purple Rain. Y'all remember that movie? I actually liked the movie, but there was a scene in the movie where, he was kind of tripping and he was going through some stuff. And the club owner comes in there and he says to him in so many words, he says, "Don't nobody understand your music but yourself." And when you prove a point, you've proven your point, but nobody understands your reason. Nobody understands the purpose. I get what you're saying. You've proven your point. You're the man. Whatever the case may be, you've proven the point. But you didn't enlighten anybody. Does that make any sense to anybody? Maybe I'm just a little off today. So I think that we stand to be a better people when we seek to solve problems instead of proving points. Yeah, people who prove points are not good leaders. People who solve problems are great leaders. Yeah, if you're that kind of leader, because I said so, because I'm the boss, because I'm the this, because I'm the that, you proved your point, but you in many cases may have pushed people further away from you. You may have caused people more confusion, more pain, more, uncomfort or discomfort, I should say. Um, and of course, life is not about us being comfortable either. Sometimes we need to be discomforted uh, in order to shift and move to the next level. You ever heard the story about the eagle, I believe it is, and how they make the nest? But one of the base layers that they use when making the nest are thorns and thistles. And then they put the cushiony stuff on there. And so when those birds gets to a certain age, when they should be flying, but they're not flying, they'll start removing the cushion, and them thorns will start to touch them. Yeah. And so now they're discomforted, and now it pushes them to want to get out of the nest and spread their wings. So again, I'm not one that's saying, we ought to seek a life or a lifestyle where everything is comfortable, even though I think that we should have some comfort in life. But it's not always about being comfortable. But anyway, if you're the one that's always got to prove your point, let me challenge you on today. Okay, give you a homework assignment. The challenge and homework assignment is to stop. Next time you're in that conversation with that loved one or whoever, don't prove your point. I think that if I have a point that I would like to get across, number one, instead of proving my point, I should substantiate my point. I should sustain my point. I should, explain it, because it's so much better for someone to come to the understanding than to be force-fed the answer. You can't teach what you know until you understand what you know. And we got too many people in front that are force feeding people because they got the most money, because they got the fastest bike, the biggest house, the biggest church, the biggest club, the biggest this, the biggest, the best, and you're force feeding people. You're proving your point all the time. Because you got to prove your point, because can't nobody else be right but you. You know, and as a result, y'all perpetuate the problem because you would rather prove a point than solve a problem. And the problem in many cases is you think you are that. And you are the leader, you are the boss, you are the this, you're that, and nobody's trying to take that from you. But being that, you got to realize that you got people under you, people behind you that you are responsible to and for. And let me just talk about this from a church perspective. Not only the church, but the pastor and the spiritual leadership, their job is to minister to the total man. See, a lot of times you want to preach to the spiritual man and hikamakama and shaba, and speaking in tongues, and I'm not against it because I do it too now, and I believe in it. But it's more to living this life than just speaking in tongues. After you get done speaking in tongues, live it in English. After you get done speaking in tongues, be an example of who Christ is to your brother and to your sister, and not just your brother and sister that does nice things to and for you, because the Bible even talks about that. Okay, a lot of times we good being good to folks that's good to us, but what about the individual that doesn't have nothing, that can't reciprocate? Can you be good? Can you be nice? Can you be kind to those people when you know that there's nothing coming your way in return? Let me talk to some of y'all club brothers and sisters. You know, no, well, it is what it is. You know, uh, you always flock to the big name brand clubs and venues and things of that nature. But can you be nice like that and supportive like that to the people who don't have enough people to fill up your event? If not, then you're hypocritical. Oh, but they have the best parties. Oh, they have the best this, that, and the other. Yeah, okay. Well, what are you really going for? What's your real purpose? I might have stepped on some toes. They're gonna call me messy and come for me now. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Because it is what it is. Same thing with churches. And you see, it's not your club, it's not your church, it's you. It's people. We always say, oh, the church, the church, the church. No, 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 no. Same stuff going on in the church happening everywhere else because we're dealing with people. And people's hearts are desperately wicked. Yeah, 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 yeah. Desperately wicked, the Bible says. Matter of fact, I believe it is deceitful and desperately wicked, talking about the heart of man. And so, whether you're in the church, motorcycle club, business, wherever you are, you're going to find the same issues and the same problems because people are there. And so, can you reciprocate? Excuse me. Can you be nice, be kind, be supportive to people who don't have two nickels to rub together, who can't do anything in return for you? That's the question. So anyway, I digress. Let me get back to the point, right? To prove a point or solve a problem. Sometimes we think we have to prove a point because they need to know what I know. They need to feel what I feel or what I felt. Do they really? Do they really? Could it perhaps be that I have had to go through and endure what I went through and endured so that someone else doesn't have to? I never understood people who have the mindset that I struggle, you got to struggle. I had to work hard for it, you got to work hard for it. Now, I am all for teaching, good work ethic. Um, but working hard and suffering are two different ball games, two different things. And, I have tried to provide my children with a life where they didn't have to struggle and suffer and things of that nature. And not even saying that I struggled and suffered, because I really do think that my parents did a great job. They did the best they could with what they had. We had some tough seasons and things of that nature, but we was never, how do I want to say this? There were times when we were broke, but we were never poor. There were times I can recall going in the cabinets and had to look hard and find nothing, but we were never poor. It's a mindset. My parents raised us with dignity, principles, honor, respect, self-worth. Man, when I really look back, my parents, yo, they the goats. My mother, my father, man, even when they had their differences with each other, they did right by us. You hear what I'm telling you? They did right by us. And 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 there are times when I feel guilty for what I did as a child growing up. The things I did, no doggone well, they taught me better. But you know what? I was out there trying to prove a point. I was trying to prove a point to them little girls. I was trying to prove a point to my homies, and proving a point will mess you up. Proving a point will get you in a place that you can't afford to be. And I ain't talking about your money. Stop thinking you got to prove a point. You ain't got to prove a point to nobody. Look at here, man. I told you this, I think it was last year sometime. I ain't passing out no receipts in this part of my life. If you don't take me at my word, then that's on you, bro. Sis, that's your problem, not mine. I tell you once, I might tell you twice. But anything after that, you on your own. You like it, I love it. I'm just being honest with you. And I ain't gonna hold it against you, because you gotta stop letting people's problems become your let me rephrase that. I have stopped letting people's problem become my problem. If you are a person that just doesn't trust people for whatever reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's your problem though. It's not mine. And I'm not gonna make it mine. I'm not gonna go out of my way to prove nothing to you. You know. Uh, Now if you don't know me, I get it. I don't think that you should just trust people openly. I don't think I said that correctly. How do I want to articulate it? I'll put it to you this way. People should earn your trust. And if I've done nothing to earn your trust, then, I get it. So if you don't trust me, I get it. So I will show you something. I will give you something. Because see, relationships are transactions. Look, no matter how you slice, it's a transaction, right? Because every relationship is give and take. And if we learn that, we'd probably be a little bit better off. So you don't know me and I don't know you, right? So we're getting to know each other. So I've got to give you something. You might give me something first, or I might give you something, but one of us has got to give something. Okay, and then we go from there and we build. You know, uh, but outside of that, and even that, it's not. I'm not proving anything to you. I'm showing you something. I'm giving you something. See, not only are relationships, they're negotiations. When my wife and I met, we was young. We were 15 years old, and I never forget. We had this conversation. I can see us sitting down at this table where we were sitting at, and we were having this conversation. It was not a one-time conversation. It was in essence, it was an ongoing conversation, and we literally talked about things that we wouldn't tolerate, things that were deal breakers, and so because again, relationships are not just transactions, but they're negotiations. And you in life, hear me good. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. I don't care how good you are, how nice you are, and how deserving you are of something. You heard the saying, closed mouths don't get fed, a squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so repeat after me. Relationships are negotiations. Yeah, that's in your love life, your marriage, relationship, your business relationship, even the relationship with your kids. It's a negotiation. Look, here's what I expect of you, son. When I can't get to it, you need to make sure that grass is mowed, the trash is taken out, this, that, and the other. Baby girl, I need you to make sure the dishes is done. Whatever the case may be. And hey, Dad, I'm doing a whole lot more. Can you up my allowance? I got a few more of this, that, and the other. You think I can? Okay. See, it's a negotiation. And so many of times we get mad with people because we don't feel we're getting what we deserve, but yet still we've never articulated that. And suppose they come from a lifestyle, a family, a situation, or whatever the case may be, where what they're doing is above and beyond based on what they're used to. But you come from a place where you're used to a whole lot more. And it's not that they won't come up if they knew they had to come up, but it's never been explained or brought to their attention or showed to them that they need to come up, right? And so now you want to prove a point that you're worth more attention than what they're giving you. So you go find you another little player, and you move on. You proved the point, but you didn't solve a problem. And the problem is not that they're not valuing you, but the problem is you've yet to learn how to negotiate. You've yet to learn to speak up, set borders, set perimeters, set, guidelines, or whatever the case may be. You know, and so people who prove points are oftentimes they are neglecting to deal with other things. They are reflectors. They like to reflect and deflect, or maybe I should say deflect, instead of reflect. Well, sometimes they are reflecting, but anyway. So relationships are what? They're transactions, but they're also negotiations. So let me hear from you. If you were faced with the option of proving a point or fixing a problem, which one would be most important to you and why? Ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, it is your boy Retro with you on today. And this is the first time I've been down this road in a long time. Oh my. And they are doing a whole lot. Wow. Big changes they're doing around here. Old Mooresville, North Carolina, growing up.